Welcome to discussion on engaging local funding partners for high impact community programs. This is being hosted by SmartStart Business Development Company. And I am Leigh Ann Brown. I am the Director of Next Steps. And to give you a little insight of who I am and my background for experience and resources being shared today, I have over 20 years of experience in economic, business, and community development. As a chamber and a Main Street director, a CEO of an Economic Development Council, a graduate of the Institute of Organizational Management, and worked for a municipality leading the Economic Development, TIF, Enterprise Zone, and Tourism divisions. So excited to bring strategy today to really dive into funding opportunities and really want to challenge you to think of this, have a new mindset here, and really think about your funding outreach as we're not chasing the funding, we're not chasing the dollar, but we are going to cultivate it. So this is about local funding partners and creating sustainability. So thank you for tuning in. So speaking of funding, how often have you said, great idea, but how to pay for it? Awesome resource, but how will we fund it? Exciting project, but where will the funds come from? And so on. A vast majority of us have been able to secure grant funds over the last several years, but those are starting to dwindle, and often they don't align with the timeline of the need, or you apply for grant dollars to learn, you don't qualify. So let's talk about, in your backyard, what local funding partners can you be cultivating a relationship with and build some sustainable funding opportunities? So again, this is about not chasing the dollar, not chasing the funding, but we are going to talk about cultivating those dollars. So today, during this time of you connected in, want to talk about planting the seed on local funding opportunities, again, building those sustainable funding resources. And really it's about advancing the ecosystem to support business growth, which takes resources to support, and therefore funds are needed, no matter what we're doing. So today our cultivated lineup agenda here is shown on your screen to walk through how we can create a process, open up your mindset, identify partner opportunities, and then how to activate it. So we plan to be through this content in about 30 minutes, and then we are going to have resources to share with you, really to help you walk through this process, repeat it over and over again, and a way to activate this local funding outreach. So in the show notes, you will find a couple resources that we are going to share with you that you can jump in and start this process. So why reignite the entrepreneurial spirit for growth and vibrancy? So would assume that you're connecting in because you have a desire to see and be a part of business growth, or maybe you're in charge of driving a mission that is set out to impact and support business growth, or both, as growth means economic opportunity for all. We know that harvesting this goal to activate this ecosystem as entrepreneurs certainly are the ones that drive economic growth, which can mean more clients, increased B2B transactions, a greater payroll and tax dollars circulating, community vibrancy, economic resilience, and so much more. So as we walk through cultivating growth and on these funding partners, let's have a visual that we can all relate to as we have this casual discussion on unlocking some local funding partners. So let's have a guide that will walk you through the what. As if you were investing in a program or a product or a service, you would want to know where your dollars are going. So let's take a brief moment to set the landscape and visualize the following. And since we're here in the Midwest and we are in springtime, fields are being harvested, gardens are being planted, and so we are upon this planting season. So let's use that to help us visualize this process and the strategy and really creating this ecosystem that we can build and leverage and finding local funding partners. So we really want many specific elements for successful funding partner outreach. And you certainly you have the seeds. Think about this as this is the variety of local partners that you want to plant relationships with. This is really about aligning mission to invest in harvested outcomes. We really want to be sowing the seed directly. So seed variety, we have local partners, we have funding options. We have the soil. We need to know what the local landscape is. And this is really about ecosystem mapping that we will also give you a resource on. And then of course you have the natural environment, the water and the sunlight. And this is about having consistent communication. So when you identify this process, it will be easier to communicate with your funding partners because you will have an aligned mission. And then we get to celebrate. We're going to have the harvest. We're going to have sustainable funding partners that we can build reoccurring value. So a little bit about who we are as your host today. Wanted to share that SmartStart, who we are and why we wanted to help identify some local funding opportunities, as we are a resource that can be a partner. And SmartStart Business Development, our mission is to strengthen local economies by making entrepreneurship more accessible, supported, and successful in small towns and rural communities. We do this through a passion of empowering rural and small town leaders and organizations to drive the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So SmartStart is a resource that we will refer to today because as your host, it's our known resource. So it's really about sparking that business growth and creating community vibrancy through a guided journey and create partners that we can help advance their ecosystem. So small business growth, the demand is growing, which is exciting. Hopefully you've been tuned in to the reports out there and that we have growth happening in our business ecosystem. So this potential is creating opportunities for our communities, our organizations, and businesses, seeing the demand in the numbers. And speaking of numbers, exciting to share, the U.S. Census states that business applications in March of 2025 were over 450,000. This is a 6.4% increase over just February of 2025. So great numbers there. Again, Small Business Administration, the SBA, they supported 103,000 financing transactions to small businesses. This has been the highest level since 2008. So again, there's demand, there's opportunity there, there's desire for business growth. So how can we help fund resources, programs, initiatives, projects, and community sustainability to help these businesses thrive. So now that we know where we stand, and we know that we need funds to support the growing demand, let's start the process. So we're going to begin the funding outreach process. And this is a repeatable process that you can do whether you're seeking funds for a resource partner with a program, a project, an initiative, event. This process will help you in any of those endeavors. So the first landscape to share here are the funding outreach partners. This is a sneak peek of one of the resources that we will share in further detail of this, but this gives you an idea of the different local funding partners that we will reference, talk through, and point you back to as you explore the opportunities as you are moving forward with that resource, that project, that initiative, whatever the funding need is. These are your local funding sources, partners, entities that you can start to cultivate those relationships with. So the first step in this process is mission alignment. Recall, we want to make sure we're creating a sustainable relationship. And so our first step here is going through that list of those potential funding resources. Again, we have a resource for you, a mapping sheet that you can use. And from that, you want to take those listed local funding partners that you identified, and we want to start to have mission alignment. Of course, you know your business, your organization, your entity's mission. Then research intern works great here. Here's the list of local funding partners. Please research their mission statement that is typically well posted on their websites and information about the company. So you want to identify that funding partner mission, and then what is the mission, the return on investment, the outcome of that resource, of that initiative, of that program, of that event, and where do those align? That is what you want to map out, because this will be how you will speak to that funder of, if you invest in us, together we are driving a unified mission to achieve cultivated, harvested outcomes. So, and remember, maybe you've identified a solution to a problem or an opportunity to fuel that demand. The budget comes into play. Quickly, you need those funds. And so this is a great starting point of what are we trying to achieve and where do our missions overlap. Then you want to identify the return on investment for those funding partners. Just like we want value out of a program, a service, a product that we are purchasing, we can only expect that by our funding partners. So again, that mission alignment, you went through that exercise and now you can speak their own language. You're using the words that mean something to them, have great value to them, and are what they live by each day. This is a lot like SEO. You are mapping out those words to use back to those funding partners to know that you understand who they are and you understand how their mission can play into the alignment of the resource, program, project that you're trying to fund. You also want to understand what is the economic, social, or what's the other ROI that they want to seek out of this funding source? Do they want to have a marketing or brand awareness? And ultimately, there's typically always some economic impact. So is that creating jobs? Is that creating tax revenue? Is that retaining businesses? Workforce recruitment, there's always a economic benefit in the strategy of the resource, the program, the initiative, the event that is being proposed. So now let's dive into some details. So we shared a quick snippet of those local funding sources that you can explore. That will be the resource that we share with you. And now let's dive into some examples of those specifics. So I can really show you how the list aligns with the mission alignment and that return on investment. So here, government opportunities. A few highlights here. You have your TIF district, your business district, your enterprise zones, your sales tax, your CDBG, your community development block grants. So the value connection here is your resource or program or initiative or event, is it driving impact of business growth? Is it eliminating blight? Is there demand for improved infrastructure? Is there job creation, retention? Is there increased sales tax? Those are all driving forces of why that funding source can align with what you are trying to achieve, the harvested outcomes. If it's a municipality or a government entity, they are focused on those tax revenues, decrease in building vacancy, stabilize the property EAVs. There's a lot of economic benefit for those. And again, really want to be focused on that mindset. So again, you are inviting partners to invest in this aligned strategy for harvested outcomes. So you're not asking for funds, you're not asking for the dollar, you're inviting partners to invest with you. A couple other resources. So think about your financial banks and institutes that you have throughout your community or region or relationships that you have. They have an obligation for the Community Reinvestment Act. So this is a requirement for them to provide funding back into their community. So that is a great talking point and a requirement that you are helping them meet. Large businesses, think about driving retention and attracting workforce. Workforce is the big one with large businesses. They need people. So also, are you generating potential business customers for them? Are there avenues for their employees to engage and give back into the community? Utilities. So think of your gas and water and cable, internet, all of those critical infrastructure utilities. They want to see an increase in people, increase in business storefronts. So if you are generating a pipeline of new customers for them, that is a great talking point and a way to align investing their funds back into the resource, the program, the initiative, the project that you are seeking funding for. Now let's kind of shift our mind to think about the mission focus. So you're going to identify those local funding partners. You're going to identify their mission. So this would be another way to look at how do you connect into what they are trying to advocate for and drive through their mission. So maybe their mission statement includes economic development and job creation. So think about what shop local products and services will you be purchasing to activate this proposed endeavor. Highlight business community opportunities, putting a spotlight on the resources and available space for expanding and attracting businesses. Will this help businesses become sustainable? Will it be driving growth and job creation? Maybe a mission statement they want to focus on and see the health and safety and well-being of a community. So how is this generating a connected community that will help advance information and resources? Because think about lights on means business growth. People gathered is vibrancy. Experiences to enjoy is opportunities. So this is generating a foundation of safety and a well-being ecosystem for healthy activities and vibrancy, which definitely reduces the public safety concerns. Here's a thought here. If you are a membership-based organization, here's some funding opportunities. Think about using your existing member network and break down the dollar investment. So often, instead of that annual dollar amount, us as consumers or investors seeing that by month or by week dollar investment is easier to process. So think about maybe each member contributes $1 a week. So $4 a month, as you can see there on the screen. Multiply that out, and that is a good way to present information back for investing opportunities. Maybe your higher tiers or those members that are seeking clients. Think about if they sponsor something within that program or initiative or resource. Because really, if you have 10 sponsors at $200, do the math. So you can quickly multiply out, breaking down the investment opportunity and then multiplying that out for dollars that can be put towards that resource, project, program that you're trying to achieve. And then think about the entrepreneurial ecosystem partners. So think about your ecosystem, who is driving business growth, and think about the population that's available to make an impact. And as you can see the example here, divide that out and show by the numbers, here's the impact of the aligned mission that you can make together. So hopefully that is getting, again, that mindset shift of who are the local partners, mission alignment, and how can I speak to a specific outcome that we both are achieving. And that is where you want your information and conversation to be aligned. So engaging funding partners, we walked through a process here. We identified some opportunities, and this will be another resource that we want to share with you of really creating customer discovery, really is what this piece is for all of you that are trying to achieve local funding sources. So you want to identify the right partners, have the right seeds that you're trying to cultivate, and you want to have purposeful relationship, providing that opportunity. So again, they are investing in an opportunity, not giving dollars. And this is really about driving the ecosystem of economic, community, and business growth. So you can use this other template for customer discovery that will help walk through, again, those mission alignment with local partners. And then as you outreach to them, it'll walk you through why identify that mission alignment, how to go about that customer discovery, and those talking points that you can use in those meetings to build those relationships and secure those cultivated dollars. So again, thank you for being with us. SmartStart here to help you cultivate local funding partners, opening up that mindset of who is in your backyard that can partner with you based on mission alignment to achieve a unified outcome, whether that's a resource, a project, a program, an initiative, an event. There are local funding opportunities within your network, in your backyard, and other opportunities with local partners to think about and outreach to them. So we're excited. Again, in the show notes, you will see links to those resources that we want to provide to you. And again, you don't just find great partners, you grow them. So one conversation at a time, cultivate those relationships, identify those local partners, mission alignment, and make the outreach for investing in a unified vision to achieve a cultivated result. Thanks for joining us, and I hope this was helpful to really, again, cultivate those local partners. They're the ones that's going to have a great impact with you. And I hope you continue to stay tuned in and wish you great success in all the endeavors you're going after.